So Company Showcase enhancements in 5 Street lead management. So what we're going to talk about here is, first of all, what it is and why you have it. This is a benefit that's provided by the brokerage. And what it allows us to do is enhance your listings. And the two main sides of this are going to be lead generation. That's a huge part of it, as well as carrying that branding through to everything. A lot of the information and the way that it's displayed through Showcase actually carries through to some of the other products I'm going to talk about later on as well. It also gives you enhanced listings and reporting and access to some additional marketing tools. Now, if you're not familiar with the difference between a basic listing and enhanced, first of all, every agent out there that has a listing in an MLS comes through to us for free. So everybody already has listings on Realtor.com. The big difference is when we start comparing the basic to the enhanced, you can see the basic listing is just, the only color on it is going to be the picture of the house and the big red view details button. That's it. And so when a consumer goes in and they say, show me all the houses in a specific area, then as their criteria comes up in their search results, the page is mostly filled with all these white listing items. When they come down to an enhanced one, it's actually separated by a gold bar. They used to actually be a little bit thicker, but they actually stood out too much, so we thinned them down a little bit so they look a little classier. We had 4 color logos on here, and we've got some new features that are going to be coming out a little bit later this year or early next year, where you'll be actually adding the agent's photos on here as well. So again, these are all things that when it comes up in a search results page, they pop. So people's eyes tend to go to that information a lot more quickly and a lot more easily. So hopefully that is bringing in additional views. Once we're in looking at the individual listings detail page, they actually click on an individual listing. These are the two that you'll see. The basic is on the left, and again, enhanced is on the right. We're going to talk in a minute about the extra goodies that actually come with the listing side of it. For right now, though, I want to focus on the column on the right-hand side, because that's the main thing that we're going to kind of get into with the difference between these. Top right corner, this is how we generate our leads. We do 100% opt-in leads, which basically means people actually have to take a step to request help. So they have to go to these boxes, fill in the information, and request help from an agent. This is very different than a lot of our competitors where they use what are known as squeeze pages. Basically, you go to the site, you're looking for information, up pops the box that says, give me your name and your email address and all this information before you're allowed to get to the carrot on the other side. You're basically squeezing information out of the visitors. That's what they then turn around and resell as a lead. The problem is most people that are going to these sites to do their research don't necessarily want to hear from anybody. They didn't really ask for help. They're kind of being forced into it. So if you've gotten leads from sites where you call the client and they're like, oh, I didn't ask anybody to call me, I don't know why you're bothering me. That's why. It's just a different lead generation process. It does create a whole lot more leads. The problem is it's a whole lot more time going through all those phone calls for most of the people that don't want help. We know that the average buyer and seller starts their research 6 to 12 months ahead of time now. And they go through this huge process of gaining information. And that's kind of the world we're in. Everybody wants data and wants information. So ours is very different because they've reached a point where they're actively reaching out for help. They want to hear from somebody. So that's a big difference in the number or the way the leads are generated. This will generate far fewer leads than popping up a box in front of everybody that hits the page. However, the people that are actually reaching out want help now. Now the big difference between a basic listing and enhanced is on a basic listing, the free listings, all of the leads that are generated by these get aggregated by zip code and are resold through a product we have called CoBroke. So if you wanted to purchase an area or purchase a zip code, depending on the size or the amount of leads that are generated, sometimes it's you can buy the whole zip code, sometimes it's a segment of that. But that's how these leads are handled, and then the income that comes in from that basically supports all the free listings. On the enhanced product though, all of the listings that come through on an enhanced listing go straight to the agent. They don't go anywhere else, and it's one listing, one agent. So that's how we make sure that on the enhanced side, you're getting all the listings off of or all the leads off of your listings. I'm stuck on that today for some reason. I keep calling leads listings. So all the leads that come in are going to be generated and sent directly to you. Now, when it comes to responding to leads, what is the expectation of our happy little consumer out there when they click that button for follow-up time?
Now.
Immediate.
Pretty much, yeah. Now to 5 minutes, roughly. Any more than that, you start running into other problems. First of all, when they click that, we use real-time leads. So usually within 60 to 90 seconds, it's going to process out and it should be sitting in your email box. Or in your case, it's going to be 5 Street, which I'm going to talk about next. That's lead management. So it's going to go into your 5 Street system and notify you that you have a lead waiting. And then with 5 Street, the nice thing is it auto-responds for you. So you can respond immediately even without having to do anything. All you have to do is tap a button that says you're going to accept your lead. The system will auto-respond to them as though you just did. So even when you're with a client, you can respond immediately. That's the main thing. We see about a 65% increase in conversion when you can reach them within the first 2 minutes. The problem is it's really hard to reach them in the first 2 minutes if you're busy out doing business. So that's a big reason for 5 Street, and we'll talk more about that in just a few minutes. The other problem with these is if you don't get them within that time frame, one of several things happens. First of all, there are many times I talk to agents, they'll say, well, I follow up with them, I call them up, and the first thing they tell me is they're already working with another agent. And from what I found, there's usually typically one of 3 reasons for this. The first one is, did you get back to them within that first 5-minute, maybe 10-minute period? Most often the answer is no. What you have to keep in mind is while this lead only went to you if this is your listing, the people sitting on the other end after they send that continue to shop and they look around at other pages. Well, if they go to a different page, see another house, they don't always realize that it's one form for the entire website, and they'll fill one out on other pages as well. And if that agent happens to call back before you do or responds before you do, whoever gets there first usually gets the prospect. So that's one of the reasons. Now, I actually was doing some work with a broker down in Miami, and he actually kind of did his own little in-office study with the same type of thing in his showcase and the responses they were getting through their system, and found out there's usually 2 other reasons why you'll get the I'm working with an agent thing. The second is the most obvious, and that is they are working with another agent. However, if they were really getting the service from their other agent, would they be calling you? Or would they be taking that information to their agent to get information? The third is our client out there that's actively gathering information but isn't ready to sign up with an agent yet. They have figured out, the consumer has, that if they tell the agent on the phone they're working with somebody, that agent won't try and sell them on becoming their client today. So this is a tactic that a lot of the consumers out there have figured out. So if they don't want to get sold on being somebody's client, they just say, well, I'm already working with an agent, so I just want information. They actually went through a process of providing information, and this is what the broker tells all their agents, is simply give them all the information as though they're going to become a client. Help them with everything that they need, because one of 2 things will often happen. One, their agent continues not to serve their needs, and if you're able to provide better responses, better information, and better service, they get a lot of calls from those people that have decided to drop their agent and go with them. The second one is if it is one of those people that really doesn't have an agent, if you took really good care of them and didn't try to solicit their business at that moment, oftentimes they'll call back because they're hoping to continue to get that service. He told me on average between 50 and 60% of the people that they were going through this process with were calling back and becoming eventual clients. So even if their prospect doesn't become a client immediately from the lead, they were picking them up later on. So at least they were in the pipeline. So keep that in mind as you're dealing with all this stuff. Now again, the benefit you have is you also have 5 Street, so all this information is going to flow into a lead management system that's going to allow you to connect with them immediately, and it'll actually go through a nice little process of asking questions to get a response. So you'll know before you ever pick up the phone and call them that it's a valid lead and that they're actually interested in getting more information. And I'll show you that when we get over there. So that's the lead section. Now, as you go down the page a little further, some other differences. On a basic listing, it just gives them basic information of the area, whereas on the enhanced listings, this is where all of your information, your business card, appears. Your photo is there, all of your contact information is there. There's a link so they can send you an email, any additional phone numbers or business websites, anything else you want to put in there, I would encourage you, if you have a business website, make sure you're putting the web address in there, because not only for the consumers, but more importantly for Google. Because remember, our listing information updates every 15 minutes, and that means Google's on our site almost continuously. When it runs into links to other pages, it hops off and goes and looks at those pages too. And the more you have large corporate websites that point to yours in the same industry, that raises your visibility to Google as well. And we're going to talk more about that coming up in a little bit, but that's one of the places you can add that in. In addition to that, you also get a free toll-free number. Now, you may not realize it already, but all of your listings already have that toll-free number on there because they're given, that number's placed on there automatically. And that toll-free number then automatically forwards any phone calls that come in to whatever number we have on file for you. The reason we do that has to do with all those wonderful little robots out there that like to scrape websites. So over here, there's a link they actually click on that says email agent. We don't display any email addresses, so they can't scrape email addresses and put you into email marketing campaigns. The same is also true when they click on email agent, it's just a pop-up that comes up, and they put in their email information, put in their email and send it. It still gets sent through to your email as though they'd sent it. It just uses a form instead. The reason we use the toll-free numbers It's for the same reason. These same robots go out there and scrape sites for phone numbers, and they stick you into sales databases, and you start getting the robocalls. So by default, we put in the not the 800, but the toll-free numbers, because typically those are corporations. So those systems that go out and scrape phone numbers will automatically throw them away. They toss the corporate numbers. So that's one of the reasons we do that. You do have the ability in your control panel to turn that feature off. So if you want your number displayed, you can do that. Just know that by default, every agent has their own toll-free number, and that's what's displayed initially. Now, as we go down the page a little further in that right-hand column, the last item is down here at the bottom. If it's a basic listing, it's going to provide information on other properties in the immediate area, not necessarily the same office or brokerage, but on the enhanced listings, it's only going to display your other properties. So any other listings you have that are available, that's the only thing that displays at the bottom of your listings. So it keeps them engaged in your stuff. Now, looking at the actual listing information on the left, some of the other enhancements you have on here, the business card and the office business card we already talked about. So you've got the agent and brokerage information that are displayed there. We talked about the custom toll-free numbers. Going down a little further, actually going to the top, we also have custom animated headlines. Now, this is probably one of the most visible and least used features in enhancements. I don't know why. If there is anything you want any customer to see hitting this page, put it in the animated headline, because I guarantee almost 100% of the eyeballs that hit this page are going to see it. It's right above the picture. You get two 50-character statements, basically. First one comes up when they open the page up, then it disappears. And the second one comes up, stays for a few seconds, disappears. And it alternates back and forth between these two headlines. And it's at the top of the pictures right near the address. So when people first hit the page, their eyes are immediately drawn to it. It's a great way to market upcoming open houses or any special features you want them to know about this property, because they may or may not take the time to go down and read through. So if you want them to know it, make sure you hit that right at the top of the page. Going down the page, you can also add up to 36 photos. I believe your MLS currently allows you to upload up to 25. So you can go in and add additional photos up to 36. The other benefit is if you wanted to, you can actually go in and delete the ones coming from the MLS and upload all 36 of your own, which a lot of agents will do because they'll put their branding on it. This is not an MLS, so IDX rules don't apply. You can actually put branding in all your photos out here. A lot of agents will do that because by the time your branding is over here, if somebody wants to try and steal your pictures, they'd have to crop out way too much of the picture to be useful. So a lot of agents will actually brand their photos as well. But that's an option, it's entirely up to you. Down below that, we also have virtual tours. Virtual tours automatically feed over from your MLS listing. However, again, the virtual tours coming from the MLS have to be unbranded. You can simply go in and replace the branded URL or the unbranded URL with the branded URL, so that when anybody coming in here can also click on it. So again, it's all about branding and branding both you and the brokerage and everything all the way through. Also on the virtual tours, those are a benefit of the enhanced listings. Agents that have the free listings can add virtual tours, but they have to pay $19.99 per month per listing to be able to add it. So it's usually an expense most agents don't go to. So that's another benefit of having the enhancements. You can list up to 5 open houses and schedule those out in advance. And you also have an increased area for your custom description. Property descriptions typically from the MLS are about 500 to 800 characters. So if you have a property you really want to describe, it's kind of hard to squeeze it all in there without using all the abbreviations that a lot of consumers don't understand. In our system, you can actually go out and expand that up to 2,500 characters, which is about 3 times the size of that paragraph. You have the option of either leaving the existing paragraph from the MLS, you can go in and append what's there, so add additional information to fill it out, or you can actually delete the MLS information and just start from scratch and fill the whole thing. So it's whatever you want to do. And by the way, on the photos and the descriptions, if you make any changes on this end, the listing will continue to be updated every 15 minutes with any changes that happen in the MLS, but any areas that you touch in Realtor.com, it won't overwrite. So if you change the description or you put your photos in, new photos on the MLS side will not overwrite it. It'll keep whatever changes you made on this end, but everything else will continue to be updated. Okay. And then last but not least, we already talked about number 9, which is down here, the promotion of your additional listings. On the reporting side, you also have 24/7 access to the reporting section. You can set up performance reports either monthly or twice monthly to be emailed out to your clients, so that way they can see the performance of what's happening with their properties. Provides weekly breakdowns on overall search results, how many times it's coming up in a result, as well as how many times people are actually clicking on the property and going in to view it. So it kind of gives you a good comparison there. It actually further breaks that down into views, whether it's coming from mobile devices or if it's coming from the Realtor.com website. So it gives them a full breakdown of exactly what people are seeing, how many people are looking, where they're looking from. As you're setting all this up, if you have any issues at all, we have our support site. It's available 7 days a week. We have videos out there, tips. We have webinars that happen throughout the week, every week on all of our products. So anything you want to do, you can go out and do it out there. And then if you need any assistance, you can also contact our customer care office. That's in Scottsdale, where I'm located at. They're open Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific, which would be 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. local. So they're out there for quite a while. That's Monday through Friday. We also have the customer care email. We don't broadcast this, but if you send them an email over the weekend, they do have email support because our managers all have to take computers home. So somebody's always on call. Just don't tell anybody. So that's an option. Now, in front of you, you should all have a guide that looks like this. Quick reference guide. This is the first one anyway. In this guide, I'm going to go through and give you just kind of a quick overview of how to set this stuff up, but I don't expect you to memorize all of it or even remember much of it, because one of the things I've learned in doing all this training is there's a neat feature built into every training room I've ever been in, and that is built into the doorways. And it's a magical thing where you go in and you learn all this great information, and as you pass through the doors on your way out, it literally sucks everything you just learned right out of your head.
It's amazing.
So that's what these are for. This will go through the setup of your control panel, your agent profiles, which we're going to talk about next, as well as setting up all your showcase stuff as well. Do you have a question?
Does the company's website override? Is there a specific link in there for everyone's page? Because I think it's either Zillow or Trulia. There were some things that the agents couldn't edit. Is that hold true with the Realtor.com?
Generally speaking, the only things that, and now it may vary, it varies by brokerage, so I can't answer that directly because I don't know how your contracts were originally set up. Typically, the only things that the brokerages are going to control is where their information shows up on the right. As far as the edits within the listing itself, those are agent by agent. So the brokerages usually don't override that. In fact, I'm not aware of any controls where they can. But if you know of any, check with your brokerage, they can tell you for sure. But I'm not aware of any. If you have any trouble with any of the stuff also that I'm going to talk about today, that 800 number is good for everything. If you have trouble with 5 Street, if you have trouble with getting into your control panel, if you have trouble with your profile, any part of the free stuff that I'm going to talk about later, that same number, they'll get you into everything. Okay? So with this, I'm actually going to sit down for just a moment so I can drive. And I'm going to give you a quick tour of the control panel. It is pretty simple. One of the nice things that our designers did, most of the things you're going to see that I'm going to talk about today, they did a really nice job of designing all of this stuff to be a quick 5 to 10 minute setup, and then it's on autopilot. It's not stuff you're constantly having to go in and maintain and work on and do stuff with. So we're going to go up here. And once you're here, you're going to go up and hover over the sign in or sign up. Now, what you want to do is you want to hover over it, not click on it. If you click on it, you're going to get a box that looks like this. Anytime you see a login that talks about logging in with Facebook, this is a consumer login. You don't want to log in there. That's where they create their account. If you've ever, by accident, gone in and created an account here, you're going to have to call the 800 number and get that account removed before you're going to be able to create your agent account, because it will not allow you to have 2 accounts with the same email address. So if you've done that, just know you're going to have to give us a call and get that taken care of first. On the other hand, if you do that, they'll usually set up the account for you at that point. But otherwise, you're just going to go to sign in, sign up, and go down and click on agent sign in. This is going to take you to a separate page, and it's going to open up and allow you to either sign in or set up. Now, if you haven't been in the system for roughly the past year or so, then you're probably going to have to re-sign up. A little over a year ago, back in about this time last year, we revamped the entire infrastructure of the entire website. Basically, the old system was completely tossed, and we rebuilt a whole new platform. And we tried to make it as transparent to the user, so they didn't notice a whole lot of changes, but it allowed us a lot of new changes with the site, a lot of technology advances, things like that. One of the biggest advances on the agent side is we're going to single sign-on, finally. If you ever went into the old site, you used to have to, every time you logged in, put in your state you're in, your MLS ID, your NERDS number, and all this information. And that's all going away. All you're going to need from this point forward is going to be an email address and your password. Now, if you haven't set it up yet, the little sign up button's right there. When you click over to it, it's actually going to ask you for the email address you want to use, the password you want to use, and your phone number. So if you lose the password, we know how to contact you. When you click continue, it is going to take you to that other screen once. And it's going to ask you for your NERDS number, your MLS ID, and all that information. At that point, that's the system taking all that and connecting it to you. So that way when we get to your profiles and actually throughout the control panel, we know which listings belong to you, which MLS you belong to, also all your NAR information that comes across. That's why we ask for the NERDS number, to keep all that stuff all plugged into you and make sure it's flowing through to the right places. Now, if you belong to more than one MLS, if you haven't previously set it up, you'll also need to call the 800 number for that. The system by default connects you to a single MLS, but we want to make sure that information from both MLSs is flowing through. So you call the 800 number, it takes them 2 minutes, they'll go in and connect up, but they have to do it manually on their end to make sure all the information from both MLSs is attached to your account appropriately. Once you're done with that, from that point forward, every time you log in, you're just going to log in with that email and password. You can even click remember me so it pops up and populates every time. Once we're at that point, what's going to happen is I'm going to go ahead and log us in here, and this takes us to our control panel. Now, basically everything else that you're going to do as we move forward is going to happen from this control panel. And the other nice benefit of the whole single sign-on thing, one of our other larger scale projects, is I mentioned before, the other thing that Moves Incorporated is in charge of is other products like Top Producer, 5 Street, Tiger Leads, a lot of others. Currently, if you have any of these other products, you have to go there and log in with a separate username and password. It's a separate website and all that. Over the next year or so, those are all going to start getting incorporated and brought under one login entry point. So it's single sign-on for all the products we have. So if you decide to get any additional ones, one place to do everything. And that also makes it a lot easier to interconnect them and get them to do stuff. So once we're here, the main things we're going to talk about are going to be your product setup, managing your listings, and then later on we'll talk about Profile Manager. In addition, if you need to do any account work, up here, your name appears up here in the very top. It's kind of very light gray. But if you click on it, that will give you a drop down that allows you to look at your account information and manage your account. This is also where you create teams. Now this is going to be important, especially when we get over to your profiles, because all your other team members will also show up on your agent profiles, and there'll be direct links over to their agent profiles. So if you want to be able to share information as a team, this is one of the places you want to go to set that up. Also down here under reports, this is where all those reports that we talked about, the reports you're going to set up for the consumers that show all their listing activity, that's there. Also, there's activity on your profile. So if you want to see how many people are actually viewing your information on your profile, we're actually generating reports on that now too. And you'll see later on when we get into that why that's becoming very important. For now though, we want to get your listing set up. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to product setup. Now product setup is kind of a misnomer. Because what you're really doing is not setting up the product per se, you're actually setting up your business card information. So we were looking at the listings, all that little information that appears over on the right hand side with both the brokerage and your information, your email, your company website, that kind of stuff. That's all part of the product setup. You're setting up how you're going to appear on all of your products. That's the closest correlation I could come up with. As we go down this page, each section is separated out by these little dotted lines. And as you go down through the information, every section on the left has a big blue box on the right that explains exactly what you need to do on the left. So even if you don't have the guides in front of you, and those guides have lots of pictures and they take you through this whole process as well. But even if you don't have that handy, box by box they'll tell you exactly what you need to do. Also, there's your support number and your support email addresses. Those are built in as well. So as we go down the page, you're going to drop your photo in up at the top there. And then as we move down...
Are we allowed to ask questions as you're presenting?
Absolutely.
So everything got changed about a year ago from previously, years back, correct? So what we might have created 5 years ago on Realtor.com, this overrides that?
Anything that was existing in the system previously should have carried over. What's happened is with the new site, it's more enhanced. There's more things going on. So anything that you may have had that was existing, for example, if you had photos in here already, they're still in there. They would have carried over. But there's more information you can add now than you were capable of adding before.
But as we've been with Realtor.com for 3 years now, I guess, we've been paying, no? Yeah. What we might have created 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure when the broker signed up with Realtor.com, everyone was given a specific account, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And
Every
that
agent
means-
out there has their own account. Every
Every
realtor.
agent, so, I mean, everyone has their own individual, well, the brokerage must have assigned specific emails and passwords then.
It depends on when you had set it up. If you were,
Well, they set it up probably, I mean. they-
Possibly.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have been an agent with another company 5 years ago, and then you
Long
came
time
over
ago
here.
then.
Yeah. Why, you haven't been in and out all that time?
Well, no, I haven't, but like you said, I logged in and I keep logging in as an, with an old email, but I know I have 6 different, every time they set something up, it might be Remax Central, might be they,
Oh, yeah.
and they use specific codes, so like you said, you can only have one, if you had a specific email address, which is the one I use primarily,
Mhm.
it won't log in, or I logged in as an outsider, I guess, always looking at the stuff. and
Oh,
now-
yeah, you might have,
so-
as a
So now when you
consumer.
just said that, I'm on this page, right,
Mhm.
and it's not logging in, I can't log in with my, so I.
You'll have to call the 800 number and have them delete the old account.
Okay, well,
The
it gave me
consumer
the
account.
option of delete this account, I don't know, I mean, when I tried to log in as an individual.
Well, they'll need to do it on their end. So when you're logging in as a consumer,
Mhm.
they'll need to delete that account or change the email address and have it go somewhere else so that you can use that email address for your agent account if that's the one you want to use as your primary. It just won't let both happen at the same time.
Right.
But they have to do it on their end. Because sometimes even though you delete the account, it still holds a place for it in case you ever change your mind. So that's why they have to go in and actually kill the account completely on the backside. Okay, so once we're in here, and we'll get you all in here, I promise. It's usually like a 2-minute phone call. They can pull up everything. And by the way, if you do have multiple accounts in different addresses, they'll be able to see all that. And if you want them to, they can clean all that up too and put everything under one umbrella. Yeah, those customer service folks are awesome. I can't even have access to the stuff that they do. But once they're in there, they can see everything and connect everything up and get it all straightened out for you. Okay, so once you're in here, the main thing we're going to take a look at is the business cards. Now, one thing I want to point out is each little section between the dotted lines has a blue link to open that section. You can't just click right on it and edit it right from here. So for example, we're going to go in here and do the business card information. As soon as I click on it, you'll see it just opens it right up, and they're just text boxes. It's just fill in the blank. You can put in your team name if you want to change your name, or for example, we had one lady in last class, her name was Rebecca, but she wants to be seen on the site as Becky because that's everybody knows her. So you can basically put in however you want it to display. You can put in team names, you can put in slogans. This is the first place you can also add any company websites you have. If you don't have your own business website, I recommend putting a link in there to your Facebook business page if you have one. Anything that links to any stuff that you're on. Because again, the more you have those cross links going on, the more you keep Google and search engines running back and forth between different sites that you're on, all within the same industry, that helps bring all of them up. It also helps shape what people see about you, and we'll talk more about that when we get over to the profile side. But that information goes in here as well. Under contact numbers, there's a couple of different options in here. Now, I remember before I had mentioned that everybody automatically gets that toll-free number. Toll-free number is controlled by this primary box. The number that's in phone number 1 is where that toll-free number forwards to. And typically that's going to be whatever number you've already been given for you, whether it's your cell number. Wherever you're receiving phone calls from Realtor.com, they're actually calling probably the toll-free number, and it's going through and automatically forwarding. The consumer doesn't know the difference. And probably you don't either, because when it forwards to you, you just see the originating call phone number. If you don't want that, all you have to do is take the number out of phone number 1. That's what turns on or turns off the visibility of that toll-free number. Any numbers you want to display on your business card are going to be under phone number 2 or 3. That makes sense to everybody? Okay. If you want both the toll-free number and your phone number to show, then just leave your number under phone number 1, that keeps the toll-free number on, and then just duplicate it under number 2, both numbers will show up. Just remember that once you start putting your own phone number out here, that's when those robo-dialers will pick it up. So keep that in mind. But once you do that, make sure you click Save, and you have to click Save section by section. If you open all these up and make changes all the way down the page and click Save at the end, it'll save the last thing you did and forget the rest. So you actually have to go section by section and save it as you go. The next information down here is broker information. Just kind of scan past it, make sure it's accurate. About the only thing you have to worry about there is that we have you assigned to the correct office. If you've moved offices, sometimes it takes a while for that to catch up. Otherwise, all the broker information should be populated automatically. The next section down is email. When we get down to the email section, this part's very important because there's 2 email addresses we want to be concerned with here. First one is the consumer inquiry email. When they click that email the agent and they get the pop-up form that I mentioned before, that's the email address that email is going to get sent out to when they click send. So you want to make sure that's going to the right place. Right below that we have one that says your contact email. Now your contact email is where you want leads to be sent. This is how we contact you, Realtor.com, not the consumer. Typically that's going to be your 5 Street email address. We're going to talk about that when we get over there. That should be taken care of for you when we light up 5 Street next week. So that way the leads will all automatically flow straight through to 5 Street for you. But that, if you go in there and you see your name, like for example for mine, my 5 Street address is roger.stewart@5street.me. So if you go in here in the future and see your name and a 5 Street address, leave that there, because if you turn it off, then your leads aren't going to go through 5 Street where they're supposed to. Okay? That's the only thing you have to worry about with that. You might see another one underneath here that says showcase email that's kind of grayed out. You can ignore that one, it's going to go away. With the upgrades, that's an old field they just haven't pulled out yet. So if you do see that, whether the address is right or wrong, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. It's not connected to anything. Next section down, this lead alert text messaging notification. Don't do anything with that. That is for people that do not have 5 Street. So you can have the system text you out any leads that come in. 5 Street's going to handle that, and if you have them both turned on, they'll conflict with one another and cause problems. So don't even worry about that section. The very last section though, locations and neighborhoods, is definitely a section you want to fill out. A huge number of agents don't, probably because they don't take the time to read what it does. So before I mentioned all the leads that come in on all of those free listings, we group up by zip code and we sell those to agents that want to purchase zip codes. Well, a lot of agents will just purchase a certain package, which they have a cap on how many leads they receive in a given time period. And we will have surges from time to time where we get more leads than what have been purchased. Or we have a lot of areas where all the zip codes have not been completely purchased either, so we have extra leads. So what we'll do is take all those leads and we basically randomly round robin them through the agents that work that area. And they're called courtesy leads. We give them out for free. The problem is the only way we know which agents work in which areas are if they've taken the time to fill this out. Basically, you just put in your zip codes of all the areas you work in. So if you haven't done that, make sure you do. You can actually put up to 40 zip codes in here, which is plenty. I know a lot of agents that actually take the time to put almost 40 zip codes in there.
Wow.
Because if they get leads from other places, they can always refer those leads out to agents that are in that area. You're a creative bunch when it comes to making money. So make sure you're doing that, because I can tell you the majority of agents don't. So there's always extra leads to be had, and you're giving away, you're leaving free stuff on the table. But that's basically it. That's all there is to setting up the business card side, or what we call the product setup. Any questions on that one? Pretty simple. Once you set that one up, it's pretty much taken care of, unless you have some type of change, like an office change, or you want to change a phone number. That's kind of a set it and forget it section. Okay, so the next one I just clicked on is manage listings. This is where you're actually going to go add the individual enhancements on the listings themselves. So when you click over to manage listings, you should see all your active listings displayed here. If you go in and you don't see all of your listings, and you happen to be a member of more than one MLS, remember, you need to give us a call to make sure both MLSs are flowing through. But the information that comes in here comes through from the MLS. It's going to have your MLS ID. This is, of course, a training account. That's why I have a property in here for $14,000. It's been on the market for 3,629 days. Hopefully you don't have any in there like that.
You better roll the price.
Probably, that's the whole problem right there. Curb appeal, it's always that. Completeness, percentage of completeness. As you go in and add enhancements, typically the way that the information comes over from the MLS is going to be about 30 to 35, maybe 40% complete. So that's why you want to go in and make sure you're finishing the enhancements and pushing that up a little higher, preferably towards 100%. However, I'll also let you know that if you're one of those agents that's really worked hard at trying to get this to 100% and you haven't been able to get it there, it's because it doesn't go to 100% right now. 90% is as high as it goes. So when they made all the changes, they made a few other changes to the back end, and they need to go in and redo the algorithm that calculates this, so it only goes to 90% right now. But you do want to get as close to 90 as you can. Now I know with the market being what it is, and this is true of most areas, the other half of this, well, there's a lot of halves to this, the other part of this whole scheme isn't just getting this thing on the market to sell your existing properties. I know a lot of areas, including this one, inventory is low, so you're getting multiple offers on properties, usually very shortly after you get them listed. So some of the feedback I've had with some agents is, well, I'm not going to go in and do the enhancements on every one of my properties. I don't need to. I'm going to sell it too fast. It's not worth my time. What you need to keep in mind is this should also be part of your listing presentation on the front end when you're trying to get those listings. Because this is what sets you apart from a lot of the majority of agents out there, is you have these showcase enhancements, and while it's, that if you get the listing, you can probably get it sold pretty quickly because of the market if it's a decent property. This is still part of hopefully what you're using against your competition to get the business to start with. Also keep in mind that after this property sells, it becomes part of your agent profile for 2 years. So as people are also looking at you and looking at your information on Realtor.com, which as I mentioned before is becoming more and more important, they're going to see what you're doing there as well. So these are the types of things that are going to make you stand out over the next agent. And so whether you're presenting it to them or they're finding out because they're going in and doing a little research on their own, which we know they are, you want to make sure that you're taking the time to do it. The only problem is once you mark this property as sold on the MLS, they lock you out there. By default, you're locked out here too. So any enhancements or changes you want to make, you have to make before it's closed. It has to still be an active listing. But you're going to want to do that because, again, your history is all over your profile. And consumers will go in and look at all that information because they're doing research on agents as well. So it's worthwhile spending a few minutes in doing this. This is what's going to set you apart. So to do any of the enhancements is pretty simple. You just go in and select the individual listing. Select Edit Listing. And it's going to pull up all your listing information. And basically, these are all the enhancements that we already talked about. Now, this is a training account, so I'll tell you, I'm missing 2 little listing or enhancements up here. I'm missing the animated headlines. Basically, you click the little blue link and it opens up and there's 2 little boxes. Each one holds 50 characters. And those are the 2 messages that are going to appear above the picture. The second one that I'm missing is the description expansion. Again, when you click that, it'll actually open up a great big box. Whatever your description is that's coming over from the MLS will already be in the box. And there'll be a radio button you'll choose to either append or add on to what's there up to your 2,500 character limit, or a second radio button that basically deletes out everything from the MLS and you can rewrite everything yourself. Those are the only 2 that are missing. Other than that, everything else is kind of self-explanatory. If I go in here into virtual tours, if I have a link that I've already put in the MLS, the link will already be here. If not, I can copy and paste it in here. The link, again, coming from your MLS is going to be your unbranded version. So usually your virtual tour operator will also provide you with a branded link. So just copy and paste it in. Make sure you click Check URL. It'll pop up, you open your virtual tour and it'll run it for you so you can see that the link is actually operating. Sometimes when you copy and paste, it'll pick up an extra space at the end. And if you don't see that, it'll blow the link up and you won't even know it. So you want to make sure that it operates before you save it out to the site. Right underneath that is managing photos. Again, you can add additional. There's your upload photos link right up here. So you can go up to 36 photos. You can click and drag them around to put them in different order. That'll come into play here in a few minutes. You can also delete the existing ones and upload your own branded versions if you want to. So all that can be done right here. Right below that we have open houses. Again, open houses will pull over from the MLS. However, we have a little bit more information that you can put in if you choose to. Not only will it give you dates and times on the open houses, there's a little box you can check off where it says refreshments will be provided. We actually have people search for open houses specifically with food, especially on Sundays. Phone numbers. If you have maybe another agent that's taking care of the open house for you, it's your listing, but somebody else is actually going to be sitting at the open house, you can add their number in there. So if somebody's going to see the open house, remember, 66, almost 70% of our traffic is mobile. So people are out driving around looking for open houses and they're having trouble finding the house, so they have questions. Having that number there, they can actually call the agent on site. So you can add that feature if you want to. There's also 250 characters. You can add additional comments or information on that. You can schedule up to 5 open house events on each listing out in advance. And then as they happen, they disappear. And then last but not least, we also have a listing URL. All this is yet another URL where you can plug in either your Facebook business page or your business website. This one is going to appear down in the body of the listing. So the one we saw before we did on product setup, that URL shows up under your picture and your business card on the right. As people scroll down the listing, about 3/4 of the way down, there's additional information on the brokerage and you. If you add the URL in here, They can click on that. There'll be an additional agent information link right next to your name. They click on it and it opens up a new window and takes them over to your website. So that's what that second URL is for. So I highly, again, recommend you use it so as Google refreshes, it's bouncing out and looking at that too and seeing all those connections to you from a primary site. As you go along at the top of the page, there's also a link to go and preview. So as you make changes, you can kind of go out and check and make sure that it all looks the way you expect it to and is enhanced the way you want it to be. But that's it. You'll just have to jump in and do that with each one of your listings. And again, it should only take just a few minutes. There's not a whole tremendous amount of stuff to do there unless you're going to write that 2,500 character description. That's the one that might take a little while. Okay, any questions on that one? Okay. So that is pretty much Showcase in a nutshell. So now we've got all these people going to the site. We've got them looking at the listings, and now they're filling out lead forms and want more information. So now we're going to talk about 5 Street, which is your lead management. So when anybody shoots you an email or sends you a lead, or leads are generated through our system or any other lead source, basically 5 Street is designed just to be a funnel. So any leads you have coming in from anywhere, if you have a Facebook business page, if you're capturing leads there, they can all be funneled into here. And if you're not doing that, I'm going to show you how to do that later because we have a free product that does that for you too. So basically what happens is a new lead comes in, and again, it's designed to work on your phone because we pretty much have these things with us everywhere. So there's 2 different ways that a lead can come to you. One is a text and the other is an email. Both of them you can actually manage from your phone. As soon as the lead comes in, all you have to do is tap on the little link that's in there and it's going to pop up the lead information. At this point, it just gives you a name where the source is coming from, and at this point you click claim this lead. When you click on that, that's what tells the system, if you have the feature turned on, that's what kicks out the autoresponder. And so it'll send them a text or an email, whichever one you choose, or both, and that's what notifies them that you've received their information. That hopefully keeps them from going to another page and filling out another form for another agent, and engages them and starts the process. Now you'll notice it doesn't provide any email information or phone number at this stage. It's not until you click claim this lead that it actually does that. Now that's the text version. You can also get an email, again, also on your phone. Pull it right up and click claim this lead right from the email. Both of them will do the same thing. As soon as you do that, here comes all the lead information. So you've grabbed it, it's going to provide you all the details and a lot more. It provides all the basic information on the user, their name, email address, phone number, the source. If they've added any information or questions, that'll be under the notes or message. But while it's doing this, and this is all fairly real time, so it's within a minute or two of them clicking that button, all this information is processing through. So it just depends on how quickly you claim the lead. Once it's there, 5 Street also goes out and takes their name, their email address, and their phone number and scans social media. And will provide you with all the social media public information that it can find, including social media links, their title, their company. They'll even provide images. All comes in the same feed. Yes?
Why so long? 2 minutes. That might sound silly, but 2 minutes. If I sit in front of a computer in 2 minutes, I mean, when someone clicks an email to response, I mean, that an email, that could be instantaneous. But 2 minutes.
Well,
I mean,
in reality, nothing's instantaneous. And the reason I say 2 minutes is it's almost always less, but we can't control the internet. So it depends. Depends on your servers. Depends on our servers. Depends on the load, the time of the day. Depends on the user and how fast they're clicking it through. So there's still a processing time. There is no such thing as true instantaneous, but it's usually within a minute or less.
So it doesn't go to your server, you guys do some processing and something and then forward it back out, or is that?
Well, what's basically happening is they're clicking on it, then it has to go, from there it goes to 5 Street, 5 Street processes and bounces it back. And then it depends on what your settings are on your phone. If you have your phone set for email, your phone may only go out and check email once every 5 minutes or every 10 minutes. Depends on what you have your personal settings at. Text. Thank you. It's one of those days. If it's a text, then it's every provider is a little different. But usually everything happens within a matter of seconds. We say 2 to 2.5 minutes to be safe. Because worst case scenario, that's about what it'll turn out to be. But usually it should be fairly fast. So once you, and the other thing too is once you do receive it, it also depends on how fast you click the capture lead. because it won't send the auto response until you do that, because it's waiting for confirmation from you that you're going to take the lead and you want it to do it. Okay, so once you have all this, gives you all this information, and then it also provides all the links and details on the property they were actually on when they clicked the send me more information. So if you want to, right on your phone, you can go out and look at which property it is, although you can probably tell from your address because it's your listing. But all that information all flows through in the system. Now, that's a Realtor.com lead. But if you have Zillow, or you have Trulia, or you have other lead sources you're purchasing from, all the same information will pull through depending on whatever information they provide. So if you're getting leads and they picked up a lead and this is actually a property on a different site, as long as we have the information in the lead itself, it'll link to it as well. Yes.
Once you claim this lead, does that make it exclusive to you? Or if
Yes.
they fill out another form, let's say they go to another house listing, it's a Keller Williams house, and they fill out the same form,
It's going to go to them too.
so we'll go to them too, so it's not exclusive once you claim it.
Correct.
Okay.
The lead itself is exclusive to you, period. That lead came in off of your listing on the site. So it's exclusive to you right from the start. However, if they go to another page, we can't control that.
Okay.
And somebody else owns the leads on those other pages. So that's also all the more reason that we have an autoresponder that's instantaneous. So hopefully you capture them before they go out and start clicking on other pages. And then what message you put in your auto response is also up to you. We have one that's built in that we have a very high rate of success with, but you can go ahead and change it to be whatever you want it to be. So as far as setup, it's pretty simple. Now you should be getting these emails, I understand, on the 7th of October, and then we'll be having a training webinar, I believe it's at 12:30 Eastern on the 12th. And I can verify that at the end of class. But the main thing is getting up and getting it turned on. You're gonna wanna do this as quickly as possible. So first thing that's gonna happen is our team, we have a project manager that's helping set up all this stuff. So they're already working with getting the account set up and the right emails and phone numbers and all that stuff through the brokerage. So they're gonna send you an email, I believe on the 7th. When you receive that, you're gonna have, your email address will be in here, as well as a temporary password. And all you have to do is click in the email and it's gonna pop open. You'll put your email address in and the temporary password, and it's gonna go through the usual process of just changing it to your own password. Once you do that, you'll go to 5street.com and log in with your username and password. Now this is the only time you actually have to go to a website to do this. You can't do this on mobile. You have to go to the full website to see this. But once you do this, it's all set up and designed to work with your phone, so you don't have to go do it on a mobile device, or excuse me, on a web device. So once you log in, the next step is going to be to confirm your phone number. This is probably the most important step to every bit of it, because you will not receive any leads until you've confirmed your number, because we don't want to send leads to the wrong phone number. So this is how we validate it. So as soon as you click confirm your phone number, it's going to send you a text with a code. I'm sure you guys have done this before with other things. It's going to send you a code. All you're going to do is take that code and put it in on the website and click continue. And that closes the loop. That way we know that the texts are going out to the right phone and you validated your phone. That's it. Then the only other thing you want to do is jump over to your account tab right there. Check the information again. All this stuff is going to get set up for you. We want to make sure it's all accurate and complete. So just kind of give it a quick look and make sure that the information is what you want. As you scroll down the page, this is also where you'll set up your email and SMS notifications. So in other words, SMS is texting. So do you want to receive leads via email? Do you want to receive them via text? Do you want both? If you have it coming in as text, what time of day do you want to receive them? Do you want them coming in 24/7, or do you not want to receive text at 2 o'clock in the morning? So you just pick your time and set that. That's pretty much it. So you're just validating the information and deciding how you want to be notified by the system when those leads come in. Lead sources. Now, if you're just getting Realtor.com leads and that's it, you won't have to worry about this, because part of what they're setting up is making sure that all the Realtor.com leads are already set up to flow through here. If you get leads from other sources, or at some point you choose to, you have a couple of different options. If you're using Gmail, you can actually connect this directly to your Gmail account and it will recognize lead sources. Or any of those other lead sources, somewhere when you set up those lead sources, you had to put in the email address you wanted the leads to be emailed to. What you'll do is just substitute your 5 Street email address. And it's basically your first name dot last name at 5street.me. So if you have leads you're getting from Zillow, log into your Zillow account and just change the email address they're sending them to the 5 Street address. That way they're emailing them all into the 5 Street system, and all your leads are going to one place. And they'll all flow through the system exactly the same way that we just saw with the Realtor.com leads. And there's actually a list of probably like 100 different lead sources down here that we already recognize and are connected to.
Can you have multiple emails set up? Like, can you have the lead go to multiple emails and kind of disperse that way?
Not on this end. There are other things you can do with it. They'll talk about that more in training, because every brokerage is different in how they've chosen to set it up. Because you can share leads within the system. You can set it up like, if I can't get to a lead within the first 5 minutes, it automatically transfers over to one of my team members or to 5 people on the team. So there's a lot of different ways they can do that. It just depends on how the brokerages decide to set up their account and how much, at what level they decide to control it. Sometimes it's at the team level, sometimes it's brokerage, sometimes it's agent. So that's something that they'll go over with you in the training. But that's about it. The response, again, you have an email responder and a text responder. You can have both of them turned on, or you can just have one of them turned on. And this is an example of the text message. Thank you for your inquiry, tied up right now, but we'll get in touch shortly. When's a good time to give you a call? Connie. Everything except Connie is already in there for you. Just have to add your name on the end if you want to. The email responder is pretty much just as brief, and it's designed to be. Because the impression you want to leave them with is, I'm out and about, but I'm taking time to let you know that I got your information, I want to help you. Plus, when's a good time to call? So you're listening a response from them. So as soon as they text you or email you back and say, well, I'm available between, for the next hour or whatever the response is, now you already know before you pick up the phone that it's a good lead. Because they've already taken the time to respond, you close the loop. So that's another reason that we build in questions like that. So that's the response section. Again, you can edit this if you want to, or just leave the base one that's in there. So 5 steps to start up, just to kind of summarize. Set up your password. Remember, you're going to get an email, just click the link, password set up. You just change it and put your new password in. Then you're going to go over to 5 Street and log in with your new password. Once you're there, confirm your phone number. Once you've confirmed your phone number, check and update your profile info. Just make sure everything's what you want it to be. If you're only using Realtor.com leads at this point, then you're pretty much done. That's it. That whole thing will take you maybe 2 or 3 minutes. If you are getting additional lead sources, then just make sure your other lead sources are connected as well. And the second handy dandy little thing I gave you, looks like this, is the guide to do all that. So you're going to have it ahead of time. But it's the exact same step-by-step with lots of pictures, again, that'll walk you through making sure everything's set up right. But that'll happen on the 7th, and again, check with the folks up front, and I believe it's 12:30. I'll have to double check that, but I believe it's 12:30 on the 12th is when they're going to be doing the training webinar. And they'll probably have a recorded version for you of that as well. Okay, any questions on 5 Street before we get into the next set of good stuff? All right, so best kept secrets of Realtor.com. These are our free benefits. There are benefits out there that we've had for quite some time that agents still don't know about. So one of the other benefits of me coming here, not only talking about your broker provided benefits, is talking about all these, because again, these are great ways to build your marketing to kind of hedge yourself against your competition, because again, they don't know the stuff even exists. So I talked quite a bit about it. Realtor profiles is what we're going to start off with. We also have mobile listing websites, Facebook connections, and then a Housing Trends newsletter for a nice drip campaign. Now, I don't know if you've seen this or not, but our friends at NAR have also been, they've hired themselves a new spokesperson, and it's actually been extremely successful. For those of you that might be Modern Family fans, Phil Dunphy is